Hey guys, an extra sleepy reader here. I wanted to give you my thoughts on 3 comic books I read today. I read them when I was less sleepy. Now, where did I put them? Somewhere under my stuff here. So yeah, I read Saga Adventures of Superman #5, and for mature readers, Sex Criminals, #1, by Matt Fraction and a fellow named, an artist I've never heard of before, let me get his name, Chip Zdarsky. I liked all these comic books. I liked Sex Criminals. It wasn't at all what I was expecting. It was much more, felt much more like an indie comic, if you will. Let's see if I can show any of the art. I won't show any of the dirty stuff. It is an X-rated comic book, I guess you'd say. You know, not XXX, it's not pornographic, but it's very upfront and unedited about sex. And sex is what this issue is all about. We get the sex and masturbation and kind of being young and not even knowing how to ask questions about these kinds of things, but of course all sex that has a superpower to go with it. So I guess the artwork reminds me of kind of an indie book in the old-fashioned sense of not at all mainstream, you know, doesn't look at all like the art you'd ever see in a Marvel or DC comic book. It has that kind of personal, autobiographical feel to it. And, you know, if I didn't know it was by this, you know, star of mainstream comics, Matt Fraction, and I didn't know that Image Comics was a big deal, other than the really slick coloring, I might have thought it was kind of like a low-budget, low-circulation kind of comic book aimed at a few aficionados, you know, like American Splendor used to be, or Love and Rockets to an extent, or there's other things I can't even think of that were more lo-fi, so to speak. But this isn't lo-fi because the art's very good, but also the coloring is very advanced. Very slick. A very nice coloring. I should find the name of the colorist. Chip Zdarsky must have done his own coloring. There's someone credited for color flatting. I will have to say, because it has a lot of those kind of autobiographical, non-sort of superpowered based indie comics used to do, it kind of told a lot of the story as in a kind of narrative overlay. So someone telling you about their personal history, with lots of interesting visual tricks, with the older narrator appearing in the panels with her younger self as she narrates what's going on. So I found that a little distancing. I wasn't as deeply involved in the comic book as I might have been with a different narrative technique, but by the end I was really interested to see what was going to come next. It's all, you know, most of us who read previews and all kinds of advanced publicity know that these people commit crimes after, so this is a spoiler for a few people, after having sex they stop time and they commit crimes. That is only beginning at the end of this book. So I'm very interested to see where it goes. As they start committing crimes and stuff, is a more traditional kind of plot going to take over, or is it going to retain this kind of indie feel, you know, going even further in the direction of what feels like just a personal comic book than Matt Fraction did in Hawkeye. And of course it's not an autobiographical comic book directly, because his lead character is female, and as far as I know, Matt Fraction doesn't stop time by having sex, but certainly he's putting a lot of his personal understanding of sex into this book, which is interesting, might make some people uncomfortable. The one thing, it's very small, so it's not really a criticism, and I'm going to curse here because I'm just going to be reading what they say. At the back it says, "This book is dedicated to the brave men and women who like to fuck." But the book as a whole doesn't have that feeling, oh, we like to do it. We're naughty, we're being bad. The rest of the book struck me as a more honest, not trying to be cool kind of look at sex. So, definitely a good book for if you are interested in the kinds of things I just said. Not for people who just want fun, goofy escapism. It's a little more serious than that, I think. Then Saga, another mature book. This particular issue didn't have anything shocking in it. No giant testicles or anything. And in fact, it didn't have any, wild zingers of a plot twist or turn as we kind of got used to in Saga from the beginning. And you could see in the last issue, which I just caught up on, that he's taken Vaughn, the writer, has taken a swerve away from the big cliffhanger of the end of the last 6-issue arc and is going back, slowing things down, filling in a lot of details, making a lot more in terms of smaller character moments. To me, it seemed, it's good, I enjoyed reading it, but it seems like he's developing all these smaller threads, and we're not as on target, we're not as focused as we were in the first 12 issues, and especially the first 6 issues. So I do wonder, what's Saga going to look like in another 12 issues? Is the focus going to keep spreading out, and will these smaller threads have the same impact? Like relationships between some of the minor characters are developing that are almost start to feel to me a little bit distracting. I start forgetting about where we're headed. So anyway, another striking thing that I'm noticing more and more in these last 2 issues is the ways in which they make this far future fantasy science fiction world look like our world, with people filling up their gas tank and people making phone calls. And after a certain point, and the media being the same, and kind of the sense of suburban houses and stuff, after a certain point, will this seem too thinly veiled version of our world? I don't know. It's just kind of a weird little note that I've started to notice here. But so a very good but lower key issue. And then, strangely, the one I really enjoyed the most was The Adventures of Superman. So it had a 20-page story and a 10-page story in it, and each gave us a fun look at Superman. Different artists with different styles. The 10-page story is by the Pia Guerrera, who was the artist of Y, The Last Man. The art of the first section is by hard to say name. And they don't put the credits at the front of the story, which is a drag, so it's hard to find them. Yidre Sinar, who I've seen some of his art in Earth 2, and that was good. This is even better. His art is excellent here. And the story is good, but it doesn't... The story that Yidre Sinar draws and that is written by, now I've lost track of, Edmondson, I guess. It feels... I really enjoyed it, but it felt like half of a story or something, and maybe there's an alien princess named Arya. Maybe if I knew my Superman lore better, I would understand who they're talking about. But nevertheless, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And Superman seems in particular to be a great character for these short, one-off kind of stories, these little bits. Because he is kind of mythical, and that's... It just plays on that very nicely. And it almost seems like writers often do a better job emotionally if they're forced to do a 10 or 20 page story and stop there. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to more. I have some back issues of Adventures of Superman that I haven't gotten around to reading, and I'm just really looking forward to reading more of these mini Superman stories with the red trunks on it. So I think that'll be all the comic book reviews I do this week. Although if I get the chance, and because I have all these like 4 or 5 issues in a row that I still need to read to catch up on, I might do some catching up videos where I review a string of issues together, if I have time. And I also hope to continue with my vlog countdown, which I guess I've skipped for a few days, and I apologize for that, but I will be back soon. Bye-bye.